1993 E36 M3 Coupe. As you can see, it's finished in a lovely bright Magello red. Very early car this, you can still get an E30 shape on a 93. It does come with the Motorsport wheels on, and it has got the Motorsport interior as well. So that's the Motorsport print cloth instead of the grey leathers, which were pretty common on the red cars. Like I say, it's an early car. It's a very, very pretty car. Low owners. I will detail it in the description, but I believe it's only 3 owners. Really sensible miles on it, 86,000 miles. Really, really good condition. We'll start by having a look at the bodywork. We'll start on this front driver's wing and bumper. As you can see, there's no signs of any marks or anything on there. If you look down the side of the car, you can see it's super straight. It's been garaged for pretty much all of its life from what I can gather. The arches and things itself are all very good. No signs of any rust or anything. The wheels could do with like a deep clean. There is a bit of brake dust on there, or potentially a refurb if you wanted to go all the way. But they do have some very good tyres on them. Got Yokohamas all around, so obviously it's a good sign of good ownership. Looking down that sill and the sill cover, that's all nice and clean. On the driver's door, nice thing is, it's obviously with the red cars you can quite often see a bit of fading. There's no sign of any fading at all. All one colour red, all nice and bright. Camera doesn't actually do it justice. You'll see in the pictures when it's in the booth how bright red it is. Wing mirrors have got no marks on the corners or anything like that. Obviously M3 style wing mirrors, correct for the car. The roof shows no signs of any dents or anything on it. Around the sunroof is lovely and crisp. There's not a mark on there at all, really good. All the glass is nice and clean. All the plastics are nice and black still there, not faded or cracked. Correct M3 badging on the side trim. Even this is still in place. Quite often that goes walkabouts. On the rear driver's quarter, again this arch, lovely and clean all the way around. Really, really good. Again, the same story on the wheels, so either a deep clean or a refurb. This rear quarter, you've got the smallest little mark on the bumper there. You can barely see it. Onto the rear of the car. That rear bumper's all nice and clean. All plastics are good all the way along. Both rear lights are good. It does have the later smoked lenses in there if you wanted to change them. I think they've been on at some point, but the correct original ones are back in. But again, that's entirely up to you what you want to do with that. It does have an immobilizer fitted. So it's got a Scorpion one there. It's quite good. I've just opened the boot there without telling it, and it's flashing away. On that boot lid, that's all nice and clean. Spoiler's all good. There's no signs of any cracks or damages along there. All around the rear window is nice. All the way around there. Now there is one bit on the rear of the car that's worth pointing out. You have this trim that runs along the bottom of the boot where it meets the bumper. And it's got a couple of little spiders in there that just want sorting out before it gets any worse. Owner's had the car 8 years. He's told me they haven't got any worse in the time he's had it. Obviously with it being kept in the garage and things, but for me, the car itself's so nice it just wants sorted out. Coming down that rear quarter on the passenger side, again all nice and clean. There's a tiny little spider just in the paint there if you get really close. But I mean, it's barely noticeable unless you point it out. That arch is all nice and clean. Getting the sill on this side, it's not been rammed up any curbs or anything like that. There's no damage to that. Both the jack and point covers are still there. There's nothing at all to point out on the passenger side really. Super straight all the way along. Again, no marks on the wing mirrors or anything like that. All the plastics are nice. Again, this arch is nice and clean. And again, going out the front, obviously it's an M3, so it's got the brake ducts in the front. Next to the fog lights, all the headlights, everything nice and clean. Normally they need a good polish, but they're excellent. No fading or anything on the badging. Tiny little mark where there's been a bit of bird poo or something on there. But again, barely noticeable. For me, I would get that little bit on the boot sorted, and there's a bolster on the seat that wants sorted, and you have yourself a very, very nice early 36. So being a motorsport, it's got the motorsport trim, so obviously the BMW M colours there on the cloth. You've got the M3 seats now. This is the bolster I was mentioning. So this on the camera is that's just the way that the suede's sort of brushed, but there is a small, tiny little pinhole there. So a good trimmer would just take that off and replace this section here. Nice cheap job, but it would make a huge amount of difference. I think it's definitely worth doing, but it's not the end of the world. Rear seats are like brand new. They don't look like they've ever really been sat in at all. It's got the rear manual pop-out windows, black headlighting, and it is a sunroof car. Electric sunroof in this. Manual seats, electric windows. Steering wheel and everything in here. Really nice and clean. There's no signs of any wear or anything on that. If we turn that ignition on there, you see 86,000 miles. So really nice low mileage on this one. It's got obviously the trip computer and everything in there. And it does have aircon as well. It's got the matching Alcantara armrest, which I believe was an optional extra. Have a look in the boot. So like I said, it's got those lights in there if you do want to change those. In here there's two things that are worth pointing out, I think. So a good sign of a good BMW is always whether the toolkit's complete and whether it's got the torch. This A has a complete toolkit and B has the torch, so make of that what you will. In the boot obviously there's now, these grey carpets in early BMWs are really bad for staining, but there's not a mark on that. If we have a look under the boot, got another matching motorsport wheel. Boot floor looks lovely, all nice and clean there, nothing at all to worry about or to point out. Really good. Put those back in there. We'll have a look on the passenger side. So the passenger seat is excellent. Door card's really good. There's nothing at all to sort of note or point out on the passenger seat. Again, it does look like it's dirty in the pictures, but it's just the way that the suede lies. If you've got a suede sofa or anything at home, you'll know the pain of that. Passenger side on the glove box and everything is all good. Like I say, it's got the torch, so that's always a good sign because they live to go walkabouts. We'll have a look in the bonnet. It was driven to us this morning. Car seemed to drive nice from what I understand. I have briefly had it down the road, but we'll do a bit of a longer test in it just because they're such a nice car to drive. So there you have it under the bonnet. So like I said, Magella red, really nice and clean here. So this is the early 3 litre, which is a little less trouble prone than the later cars. Bit of a bomb-proof engine. You see these on 160, 170,000 miles. Sold one last year on 140,000 miles and you genuinely couldn't tell. All around the struts, everything in there is all nice and clean. The inner wings is lovely. All under here is good. All the way around, we'll get it started. Like I say, I've now started it hot and cold before. There's no sign of any smoke, no rattles. Clutch is good on it. Gear change is nice and tight. There you go, as you can see. Not noisy at all, nice and quiet. Happy engine on a very, very nice car. So there you have it, early model 93 E36 M3 Coupe. If you've got any questions, any inquiries, get in touch.